The men's soccer team hosts Colombia, while the women's volleyball team kicks off its conference campaign.
Also, the first ever Winter Sports Media Day in Quinnipiac history. We'll bring you the latest from the TD Bank Sports Center. All that and much more coming up on Sports Pause.
Welcome to another edition of Sports Pause. I'm Dylan Fearon.
And I'm Mari Hirsch-Gordon. Dylan, this past week in Quinnipiac Athletics had a number of events and happenings, but none bigger than the anticipation of the Chinese national ice hockey team.
Right you are, Maury. 2 weeks ago, the Chinese women's national hockey team arrived at the High Point Solutions Arena. After weeks of practice, the team would square off in an exhibition match against the women's ice hockey team. Let's get right to it. Quinnipiac against Team China. This was a really great game for the Bobcats. They came out and attacked very early on. As I said before, 22 wins, a historic season, and this is their first exhibition match of the season. We'll go to the first period. Defenseman Sydney Roosler is going to make a quick pass to Megan Turner. The sophomore will slide the puck just under the legs of goalkeeper Yu Qing Wang. Only 90 seconds later, a quick pass comes into Olivia Gastinelli. She puts the puck in, but after losing it for a second, Taylor Cianfrano, the freshman, is going to clean up the mess and score another goal to make it 2-0. More, you thought that was quick. Only 20 seconds later, Gastinelli gets to the puck slowly through the legs of Wang. Just like that, it's 3-0. We're only 6 minutes into the first period. We move on 2 minutes later. Cianfrano makes the pass to Erica Uden Johansson, who nails the slap shot. The Bobcats will extend their lead to 4-0. And we'll see here Cheyenne Darkangelo on the right side is going to take the puck up the ice and pass it straight to Nicole Connery. And she taps the puck into the net. Just like that, 5-0, still only 8 minutes into the game. China will now change their goaltender. Wang comes out, Yang comes in. But really the beatdown continued for Quinnipiac. As on the left side here, Connery, her second goal of the game, is going to make it 6-0. At the end of the first period. Moving ahead to the second, Uden Johansson, the Swede, is going to find Cianfrano, who passes to the senior Nicole Costa. It's 7-0. Quinnipiac, and they would add an eighth. Cheyenne Darkangelo with her second goal of the game. 8-0 Quinnipiac over Team China in their first exhibition match of the season.
Last Thursday, the women's ice hockey team participated in Quinnipiac's first ever Winter Sports Program Media Day. Head coach Rick Seeley commented about their upcoming season.
Officially our first day of practice, so we've only had the opportunity to work with a few players at a time up to this point and no system stuff. So I thought under the circumstances we came out pretty well. And then under the circumstances, I thought we faded for the last two periods for no reason when we showed what we could do in the first period. But overall, you know, for first practice, we're pretty happy with how we played. I'm excited about the depth we have up front. I think we have three lines that can score on a regular basis. It's just a question of getting everyone in sync with all the little details.
We're now going to bring in our hockey analyst, Marty Joseph. Marty, thanks for having us.
Always a pleasure, gentlemen.
So let's talk about this. Is a Quinnipiac team. They're very young. They got a lot of freshmen on the team. Let's talk about what you see in this Quinnipiac women's ice hockey team.
Well, I mean, there's 18 freshmen and sophomores, so right there, it's probably the youngest team that we've seen since we've been here in the last couple of years, at least since they've been on the national spotlight. So that's the biggest thing I think that stands out to me. They're going to be a really young team. They're going to be a lot more speedier than the teams in the past as well as of late, because they're bringing in a lot of smaller players, a lot of quicker players, and losing players of size like Jordan Samuels-Thomas and like Bryce Van Brabant. Those are going to be two players that are going to be big shoes to fill, because there really isn't any big players in this team that's going to allow players to get into the corners, beat those pucks up, get them in front of the net, and set up scoring chances like those two players did so well in the past.
You mentioned how young this team is. What are your expectations for this incoming freshman class, replacing the senior class that took this team to the national championship 2 years ago?
Well, I mean, there's still a lot of talent coming in this class. I mean, 5 of the freshmen, Landon Smith, the Peepers, and the Renoufs, all in the top 40 in scoring in the BCHL. So there's still plenty of scoring talent, and plenty of overall talent coming into this class. It's going to be different, I think, than what the teams we've seen historically in the past. Their defense is still going to be strong, but they're still, at least since I've been here, they've been a physical team. I think there's going to be less of a physical team. I think more of a speedy team. They're going to score a lot of goals. They scored a lot of goals last year. They struggle at times at defense. I think defense is going to be their stronger point this year, with 5 returners on the defensive end. But I think the scoring is what you're going to have to actually keep an eye on early going, because we saw some players step in early in the season last year that stepped in, like Sam Annis, like Connor Clifton, like Devon Tays, who just thrived right away. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of players in this freshman class do that this year.
You mentioned Connor Clifton, Sam Annis. Who's one player that you see that needs to step up for this Bobcats?
Well, I think returning-wise, there's a couple. I think Sam Annis is going to be interesting to see how he plays without the Joneses, because he played with the Joneses for the majority of last season, and that's really how he thrived. I think that was the best year the Joneses had in their 4 years here. But as you mentioned, there's a few other players as well. Connor Clifton had a great season, but I think he needs to be a little bit more disciplined. I think that's the one thing you see out of his game that kind of took him back a little bit. But there's plenty of players you can pinpoint on. I mean, the pressure is going to be on Matt Pecker and Danny Federico wearing the captaincies this year. But they produced. Federico's been a stud all 4 years back there defensively. But there's a couple other players. St. Dennis might be in a different role, playing center, so he's a player to look at as well.
Coach Pecknold spoke to the media again Tuesday morning during the ECAC's media teleconference. Pecknold spoke about sophomore Sam Annis and his role on the team. Here's what he had to say.
I think we'll be good this year. I don't know how good. I mean, we're gonna have a lot of freshmen that play. And if you look at 2 years ago, we lose that off that Frozen Four year. We lose that great senior class, 11 kids, and I think we got picked 6th in our league last year. You know, and we spent most of the year, 5th or 6th in the nation. So, and a lot of that was our older guys did a good job, but we had freshmen come in and were really good. Tays and Clifton and Annis and a couple older kids like Gartig and a couple other guys really stepped up and had bigger years. So, we got to push our guys to make sure we do that again, and where those guys evolving are going to come from, I'm not sure. We have them in our locker room, but we'll see how it all plays out. And there's always surprises every year and disappointments every year with freshman classes.
So Marty, we'll bring you back in. Sam Annis had a great year last year. Was that due to the fact that he was on the same line as the Jones brothers?
Well, it's tough to take away his success and just blame it all on the Joneses, because he did have a great season. Obviously, the National Rookie of the Year led the team in points. But I think that, the same being said, you can expect him to have a little bit downgrading production because the Joneses had such a great year, and it's easy to slide in as a freshman, slide in with two players that know the program, know the system, and were two assistant captains for the team last year. So I think you could see a little bit of a dip in production, especially at the beginning of the season, as he tries to get acclimated with some of the other players. Pecknold just said he's probably going to start out the season with Matt Pekka. Whether it's on the top line or on the second line, we'll see. But I think just getting his game squared away with the subtraction of the Jones at the beginning of the year is where you could see his production dip. But I think once he gets more comfortable with playing with other players, I think you'll see him pick his play right back up.
So if his production slips, is it easy to say that he might hit that sophomore slump?
I don't know if it's going to be as much as a sophomore slump, because it's tough to measure up to being the National Rookie of the Year. I mean, you can't expect him to put that kind of production out game in and game out. And I think the way that Pecknold has built this team, especially this year, he doesn't expect there to be one or two players to carry the offense. He knows he has probably 3 lines that can go out there and score consistently, because you have freshmen coming in, like I just mentioned, like Landon Smith, like the Rednuffs, like the Peepers, who are going to be broken up on those top 3 lines. So who knows where they end up? Who knows even where Sam Annis ends up? But there's going to be 3 lines who can consistently score.
Well, Marty, thank you for your insight. We're going to be relying on you all season long.
Thanks for having me, guys.
The men's ECAC preseason coaches poll was released this morning. Colgate leads the conference poll with 18 first-place votes. Right behind them are the defending champion Union Dutchmen, who have 11 first-place votes. Quinnipiac is in third, followed by Cornell and Yale to round out the top 5. Finishing up the conference poll are Dartmouth, Brown, Clarkson, RPI, Harvard, St. Lawrence, and Princeton in that order.
Actually, Marty, we'll keep you here to discuss the
Trying
poll.
to get rid of me early.
I know, it's crazy. Quinnipiac's third. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think. I mean, considering the ending of last season and the way that ECAC shaped up, I think the top 4 teams are all pretty fair. I think those are the 4 teams to beat in the ECAC: Cornell, Quinnipiac, Colgate, and Union. But I think that it's different, because I think the last couple of years, the focus has been on the team. Has been on either Quinnipiac or Union. I think Colgate and Cornell, maybe even Yale in that discussion as well, all have an equal chance of winning it this year, I think.
So if they all have an equal chance, Is it a surprise that you see the Dutchman who won the national championship last year in the 2 spot as opposed to the 1, or does this Colgate team have a lot of firepower?
Well, I mean, Colgate's returning 9 of their 10 top scorers, and they're returning their goaltender. Yes, Union is returning their goaltender who won a national championship for them last year, but they lost a lot. They lost players like Matt Bodie. They lost players, a bunch of their other players as well. So, I mean, there's plenty of subtraction from that team. Shane Gostisbehere is the player that I was going to mention right there, going to the Philadelphia system. So there's definitely players that Union's going to miss, but they're bringing back some talent as well that has been to the national championship 2 out of the last 3 years. They won it last year. They've won 3 consecutive ECAC titles, so they still have plenty of postseason talent. I think they're going to be in that championship game again this year just because they have so much experience.
Thank you, Marty, for coming on. Only time will tell in the ECAC all season long. Marty Joseph will have the top news. And when we return, men's soccer hosts Columbia in a non-conference matchup. Also, after its first season in the MAC, the men's and women's basketball teams host their first ever media days in a new conference. All that and more. Stay tuned. You're watching Sports Pause right here on Q30 Television.
The Bobcat Shop, located at 1010 Sherman Avenue in Hamden. Your #1 choice for Bobcat merchandise. The Bobcat Shop features 2 floors of countless styles and colors. With a full 19,000 square foot screen printing and embroidery operation on the premises, Campus Customs and Simplify can design and decorate any garment or promotional product as quickly as needed. Stop in and say hi.
Wake up, Quinnipiac! It's the morning after! Hey! Come on, guys, it's time for TMA! Let's go! What's the morning after? Mondays at 10, only on Q30!
Welcome back to Sports Pause. After a scoreless tie against the Army Black Knights last week, Quinnipiac suffered a 2-1 loss at Holy Cross on Wednesday night. Bobcats welcomed Ivy League foe, the Columbia Lions, on Saturday. Would Borja Anguita and the Bobcats end up with a W? Let's go right to the highlight. Quinnipiac facing Columbia. It's an Ivy League foe. It's a non-conference game that looks great on the resume. QU coming off a loss to Holy Cross, as I just mentioned. We're going to go right to the second half as a freshman connection where John Diaz finds Max Rothenbuch with a left curled shot. It's going to roll into the net after a parried attempt at a save by Columbia's goalkeeper Kyle Jackson. We move 5 minutes later into the game. A corner for Columbia. It's going to be headed on by Frederick Elliott, but blocked and cleared off the line by Shaquille Huggins. Maury, this was a really dirty game. We had 6 yellow cards, 3 on either side. As you saw there, John Diaz is going to foul Bryce Terrell. Ref gets involved. Both would be carded. 6 in the game, as I just mentioned. The free kick here by Columbia. Francisco Arges takes the free kick. Borja Anguita, easy save for him in his sleep. And James Doig here is going to make it 2-0 for Quinnipiac. Doig's free kick is going to go in, take a couple of deflections in the penalty area, and James Greco, the rider transfer, the junior, going to put it in 2-0 Quinnipiac. Columbia's going to try and get something out of this game, but 2 corners, 1 on either side, is going to be easily taken care of by Quinnipiac. As you see on this one, Toby Esch is going to get involved. Nick Lazowitz clears it, and Quinnipiac comes away with the 2-0 victory. That's huge. They got one more non-conference game, and then they head into conference play.
On Saturday afternoon, the Quinnipiac Bobcats defeated the Columbia Lions 2-0. Both teams had 3 shots in the first half, but none were real threats to either goalkeepers. There were only 2 corner kicks between both teams, with Quinnipiac taking both opportunities. The first half ended at 0-0. Neither team was able to generate much offense in the first half, as there was a stalemate in the midfield. However, Quinnipiac was able to break through in the second half.
The game was very evenly played between the 2 teams in the first half, and I think both teams were trying to play and trying to attack, but both back lines were doing a good job of limiting the other team to chances further away from goal, and it was a challenge in the midfield. In the second half, we just made a couple of minor adjustments. We tweaked some players in terms of their positioning and asked them to do something different when we were looking to play out of the back, and I think our boys did a good job.
In the 57th minute, freshman midfielder Max Rothenbucher broke the tie and gave Quinnipiac a 1-0 lead. 15 minutes later, junior midfielder James Greco put away the second goal, sealing the deal for Quinnipiac. Offense is certainly the story of the second half. However, as the half wore on, physical play disrupted the flow of the match, and both teams were penalized with 3 yellow cards each. The physicality took the forefront of the latter part of the match, but Quinnipiac was able to finish strong and secure the win.
I think our boys did a good job of putting that aside and focused on closing out the match and getting the result and not conceding the goal.
Quinnipiac looks to carry the momentum into their next game on Friday, home against Yale. Nathan Orsini, Q30 Sports.
Bring in our soccer expert, Nick Palma. Nick, how are you doing tonight?
Good, guys. How are you guys doing?
Good. So the Bobcats are coming off a dominating win against Columbia. They've had they played a brutal out-of-conference schedule against teams from the Big Ten, the Big East, the ACC. So how is that experience going to help them in MAC play this year?
Well, what I really think it's going to help them is that, you play these tough teams. You see the offense that was struggling early against these teams, but, as the league played out, as the games played out, they played Columbia. They got the good 2-0 win. You're starting to see the scoring. You're starting to see them put pieces together. And I talked to Coach this weekend. He likes what the team's doing. He likes how they're spreading the ball out. You see Greco and Rothenbucher getting their first goals as Bobcats this year. That's huge for them. It's good to see contribution from all sides of the field, especially from the midfield and Greco, who's been having a good couple of games, getting 1 goal and 2 assists in his past few games.
Nick, they have one more non-conference game before heading into the MAC schedule. What teams in that conference do you like? Because we see Monmouth's there, who faced Quinnipiac in the championship game last year. They gave him trouble in the NEC 2 years ago. What teams, aside from Monmouth, do you like to compete with Quinnipiac this season?
Well, aside from Monmouth, who's off to the hot 4-1-1 start, thanks to Dom Sarl, who has 4 goals and 2 goals already, I really like Iona and Fairfield. Iona's bringing back 3 key players in Michael Holzer, Jordan Scarlett, and of course the goaltender in Julian Petrello. On terms of Fairfield and Iona, where they're ranking this year, they're sort of in the middle of the pack, just like Quinnipiac. Iona has a 2-3-2 record, while Fairfield has a 2-2-1 record. So you're starting to see that these teams, coming into MAC form, they're starting to get a feel for who they really are and finding their identity. So I really think that Quinnipiac, Iona, and Fairfield are going to compete with Monmouth at the top of the MAC. We're just going to have to see how it goes once conference play gets underway.
You heard it here first from Nick Palma. Nick, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you guys, as always.
Quinnipiac's going to have the target on their back this year as they come off a conference championship and an NCAA tournament berth for the first time in school history. Men's basketball lost one of its best players in program history last year, forward Ike Gazetam, to graduation, but they return with a squad that seems poised to make a run at the conference title once again. Head coach Tom Moore sat down with the media earlier in the week to talk about the upcoming season.
Dealing with the disappointment of how last season ended for us was difficult. Made for a difficult end of March. But we've had a great spring, and we had two terrific summer sessions, and we've had a great start to the fall since all these guys have come back.
Just having the ability, just to perform on and off the court, have the trust from Coach Moore and the staff, and my teammates, to lead is definitely a blessing, and being the first one, it's no better feeling.
What have you learned about Coach Moore so far?
That's my guy, Coach Moore. We're gonna be real good. Not friends, but we're going to be real good people outside of basketball because he's a real good mentor and he's really good for this program.
As you just saw, when we return, women's volleyball and men's and women's cross country all had important games with conference implications. Also, women's basketball hosts its media day as well. See what head coach Patricia Fabry had to say. Don't want to miss anything. Stay with us.
The Bobcat Shop, located at 1010 Sherman Avenue in Hamden. Your #1 choice for Bobcat merchandise. The Bobcat Shop features 2 floors of countless styles and colors. With a full 19,000 square foot screen printing and embroidery operation on the premises, Campus Customs and Simplify can design and decorate any garment or promotional product as quickly as needed. Stop in and say hi.
the morning after. Hey! Come on, guys, it's time for TMA. Let's go! What's the morning after? Mondays at 10, only on Q30.
Welcome back. After losing to Marist in the MAC championship game last year, the women's basketball team is looking to qualify for the NCAA tournament for the second time in 3 years. Head coach Trisha Fabry and some of her players sat down with the media earlier in the week to talk about this upcoming season and more.
We're excited that they were here this summer and we had the opportunity to get a head start in seeing them in the hours that were allowed per the NCAA. They are talented, but they're very raw in terms of learning how we do what we do. So they're eager, they're talented, they're learning how we work in our system, and they're eager and they're working really hard. They're controlling what they can control this part of their careers, and that is their work ethic and their attitude. So I always said your freshman year too is also like going to kindergarten again. You learn how to do everything all over again. So there's a really big learning curve. They're very talented and they're learning at this point. These young ladies have earned that right to leave their legacy playing against the best competition that we're not only going to see in the MAC, but more importantly in the non-conference. So I scheduled the most challenging schedule that we could have in my 20 years so that they go out leaving their legacy even better than what they've been able to achieve to this point.
I honestly don't feel much pressure just because ever since freshman year I've started at the point guard position and I've played in plenty of games and I really understand the offense through and through, so I don't feel too much pressure. The only pressure I would feel is because we're facing better competition than we've ever faced before. And I understand that a lot of the way the team runs when we're playing those teams goes on me. So that's the pressure I feel, but I know that we have these 2 months to get better and get in the gym.
After opening its season with a victory, women's volleyball would go on to lose 9 straight games. On Saturday, the women's volleyball team opened up their 2014 MAC season at home against the Manhattan Jaspers. Let's get right to the action. Manhattan and Quinnipiac at Burt Concourt. Quinnipiac looking to win the first game in the MAC season. We're going to pick it up in the first set. Manhattan's Malia McGinnis who serves the ball. Quinnipiac unable to control the pass. Cody Michaels puts it over though. Manhattan controls, and it's end up going to be in Marissa Barron's hands for the spike. Manhattan leads 22-18. Later on in the first set though, it's Claire Van Dyke with the spike. Manhattan wins the first set 25-20. On to the second set. Cody Michaels serves to the Bobcats. Manhattan controls, and it's Anna Kilvar who spikes the ball for the kill. Manhattan would win that set 25-18. Now in the third set, it's all Manhattan as Katie Yerke, though, blocks the spike. Ball goes out of bounds. Quinnipiac starting to get on a roll after Manhattan fast start. Elizabeth Kloos on the spike. She gets in it. The freshman, Manhattan, controls the ball off the tip. It's no good because of a ball handling error. Quinnipiac would win the third set, looking to win the fourth, set up a decisive fifth. Quinnipiac would control early on in the set, but it's Katie Yerke's ball who goes out of bounds long. Quinnipiac again trying to get any momentum they can. Manhattan puts the ball over. Quinnipiac able to secure the ball, but it's Manhattan's Ali Yarshirino who gets the ball over. Right there, Allison Lee puts the ball over. Bobcats are cheering, but wait a minute. The official says that her hand was over the net. Coach Zaplinski disagrees with the call, makes it 24-20, and then the next point, Manhattan gets an ace to end the set and the game. Manhattan would go on to win 3-1.
Staying with the women's volleyball team, Coach Zaplinski's team found themselves down 2-0 against Iona at home on Sunday. But after intermission, the Bobcats won the next 2 sets 25-17 and 25-13 to force a decisive 5th set. With QU leading the final set 9-6, the Gales countered with a 9-3 run, taking the game 15-12 and the match. Sophomore Katie Yerke led the Bobcats with a career-high 23 kills, while freshman setter Sierra Dawson tallied 47 assists, tying teammate Emma Ogden for the single-game assist record with the loss. With the loss, Quinnipiac follows to 0-2 in MAC play and 1-11 overall. Bobcats take the floor again in a road battle on Wednesday at Fairleigh Dickinson.
The women's cross-country team returned to Hamden victorious after winning the Monmouth Invitational in New Jersey on Saturday. The Bobcats displayed its depth at Homedale Park. Its top 5 runners all placed in the top 10 overall. Quinnipiac beat out 6 MAC opponents while also defeating Big Ten program Rutgers. The men's cross-country team finished 5th out of 8 teams at the Monmouth Invitational. Quinnipiac's top runner Brennan Copley sat out with a minor injury, but the Bobcats still had a solid showing. Junior Matt Mencher led the way by finishing the hilly 5-mile course in 27 minutes and 6 seconds.
Field hockey freshman Michelle Federico was named the MAC Rookie of the Week on Tuesday, the first Bobcat to receive the award in program history. Federico tallied 3 points in just 2 games, including an assist that resulted in the second fastest goal scored for Quinnipiac in a road game.
Federico, the freshman, the All-American from Cheshire, really getting the season going for the Bobcats. Well, Dylan, another thrilling week of Quinnipiac Bobcats sports is in the books.
Always a pleasure working with you, Maury. For more information about Quinnipiac sports, follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook at Q30 Sports. And don't forget to visit our website at q30television.com.
For our executive producers, the entire technical team, and Dylan Fearon, I'm Maury Hirsch-Gordon. Good night, everyone.